After our API gateway creation was successful, and if we navigate to our CloudFormation page in AWS, we would see that API gateway with this logical ID was created. Now, first we are going to be navigating towards our Lambda function and see what is the Lambda function response looking like. I have navigated, and this is where my Lambda function loads. You can see this is pretty much the same that I have on the right side. And now I first need to configure a test event. Now, because my Lambda is not taking any input parameters, these can be ignored, and we are going to be creating this test event. So test has been created, as we can see here in this drop down. I'll quickly just do a test. As I can see that my Lambda function is exactly returning my response, which is supposed to be something that I have written inside my code here. I will again go back to the CloudFormation page, and I would like to go back to my API gateway. So this is the API gateway that was created, and as I was explaining earlier, that if I go to my API gateway, I should be seeing two different nodes created against my / nodes. One present for get, which is exactly what we had expected after adding this part, which is method get and / nodes. The second thing which is present here is the options part. Now the option comes here because we have added course equals true in our events.yaml. I'll quickly go and test my get endpoint. From method execution, I'd have to navigate to test, and after I'm here inside test, I can click on this button test, and I can see that along with this message there is this input event that is also coming as part of the response. Now why is this input event coming as part of the response? Because we can see that in our function we took in the event as the incoming parameter towards our get all nodes function, and this event is actually attached to this input object, and that is the same reflection we see here. So we have input here in the output of the API gateway, which is coming from our Lambda functions body. So far it looks good, but what if instead of responding back with the events that came along, we want to respond with a more proper response structure, probably something that would fit our requirement, and in our case that is something going to be a list of nodes. So let's see how we can do that. Let us say that we are going to be overriding our response. Instead of passing the event, we are going to be responding with the data. So let the data look something like this. Array of objects here. So this would be our structure, for example, and the data would be having something like ID, node, and the node would be a text. So we can write text1. We can copy the same for another to be passed in inside our response with an ID of 2, and the text would be 2. Also, we are going to be modifying our body. Instead of this object, it can take the data. So how should our body now look like? It will be having a status code of 200, and then there would be a body, and in that body we would be having this data passed over, which is an array of 2 nodes. Now each node is represented by one object here, and every node is going to be having a node ID, which is represented by ID, and there would be a node text, which would be represented by node. So let's deploy this. Also, I'd like to explain something, that I have always been deploying my serverless components from this backend package. And the question is why? Because if we navigate to our backend, This is the directory that holds our serverless.yaml. Now, in order for us to be able to run SLS deploy, we need to be present in a directory where there is a file called serverless.yaml present. And as we can see, if we list down here, serverless.yaml is present in this backend directory. Therefore, we can run SLS deploy from this directory itself. So I would and expect that our Lambda function's body would be modified. But this, we can see that the cloud formation is update in progress so far, and it has updated. All right. We will again navigate to a Lambda function and would like to do a refresh. After this refresh, we can see that our Lambda is updated with the latest code that we had in our code editor. Therefore, we can directly jump into our API gateway to test the response, or we can directly test the response from here. If I click the test button, I should see the updated response wherein I have this body present. As well, I can do a test from our API gateway, and when I do a test from API gateway, I can see that the body is getting displayed along with the status code of 200. So now we are almost ready to integrate this API gateway with our front-end application. We will do that next.